Confuscious, have you any words of wisdom?
Confuscious, he say always use PVA first in home when using plaster. And for more tips, go to Ralph's house, etc., etc., etc.
Good evening, and it's Saturday evening here at Ralph's house. Yes, so what am I doing here? I'm only here briefly. I've been here doing a little bit of filling, a bit more painting, just little things that I found, little nicks, little dents, whatever, the usual stuff. But predominantly, I've come in to fill around this light switch in the box room, so that when I come over tomorrow, I can just sand that smooth, pick out any bits that might get in the way of me pushing the light socket in, and get that painted, and that'll be this box room done. I think the only thing I've got to do in here, as that's not a priority, is just chase out a socket in there, but otherwise we are done. There's nothing to do under the floor in here. That's all done. All my cables are run, so I shall be here Sunday just to continue rubbing down, bit of painting, and then we'll be pulling the boards up Monday just for the ground floor. Then we can put these boards down, shut the door, and that'll be pretty much, well, it will be all 3 rooms up here finished and ready for carpet whenever that can be done. So we'll see you in the morning. Yeah, give that hoover out, and I'll give that a coat of paint, and then I can put the switch on that. Another coat, and that should be alright. That should vanish then. Just little bits again, touching up around these. Oh, you barely see that now where I cut a hole. Once the paint's dried, you won't see it at all. Yep, and all the lights sit flush now. Just getting some paint under here. Some extra coats down here where I think it paint's lifted a bit there, so I'm going to have to look at that and PVA that. But otherwise, yeah, no gaps across the tops of the sockets. They're all resolved now. It takes about 2 or 3 hours for this paint to dry, so I shall have to let it dry, I guess, and perhaps come back and do a little bit touching up in the morning. Yeah, so right, so I've been in the loft. I've got to spend 1 day this week when it's a bit cooler putting all the loft insulation back where it should be, so I get a nice snug fit up there, because obviously I've had to roll it back all over the place to get these in. And because these are only LEDs and they are fire rated, they're fine, even with the insulation over them. So yeah, there's no heat being kicked out there. So I think a good tidy up, so that when I come in tomorrow I can cut these boards and get on with doing the downstairs downlights. Look, this has come up for debate. I was just talking to Phil next door, and he said, "Are you sure those panel lights are the same height?" Yes, they are. I've actually measured them. They're 31.5 inches. That's to the bottom of the bulb fitting to the ceiling. 31.5. That is not higher at all. That one is not. They are both at the same height. I think, you know, it depends. Oh God, you got me at it now. Me and Ant have come out for a walk. This is part of the Camden Wedge, which is beautiful, and it's at the back of Camden Court School. And how long has it taken us to get here? 5 minutes, if that, from home, innit? and you go right over to Wolseley Village, and you've got woods and footpaths, and yeah, it's lovely. A bit further down now, sun's just setting. It's nice. We've been going past all the cherry blossom trees, haven't we? Yeah. That was the field we come from. Somebody walking down with their dog. A bit further now, as we walk down there, there's a farm up there. There's a lot of active moles in this field. They're everywhere. Well, it's not a rat. It's a mole.
Why not? From that TV show.
Oh, Wind in the Willows.
Yeah.
Getting more exciting now. Actually, it's darker than it looks, isn't it? Oh, on the camera it looks bright, but trust me, it's not. Yeah, it's fab. Yeah, we came out of that path and we've ended up what? In a forest. Yeah. It's lovely. I'm going to go and walk up here now.
Bizarre adventures.
Came through here, and now you could go that way or that way. I mean, which would you go?
That way.
We think that way. That was quite a trek. I'll tell you where you come out. Come out of that club at the bottom of Shorncliffe. And we've only touched a fraction of it, because it just goes for miles over there, all over the way over to Wolseley Village. Anyway, that was our little trip out. Yeah, I'm back on this light switch in the box room now. Stripping the wires, ready to put the switch on. It's all, well, the back box was fitted to a wooden block that was no-nailed against an upright and a cross piece. That set nicely. Gap filled round with foam, plastered over, fine filler, coat of paint. Box is all lovely and solid now. And just a case of wiring this up. That's nice and secure now. It's not going to come out anywhere. Very important to get a good connection. I mean, generally speaking on light switches, because it's a plastic light switch anyway, yeah, kind of superfluous. But if anybody later on decides to fit one of these metal switches or something like that, at least you know the switch is earth, because as you put the screws into the box, it makes that connection with the earth, you see. Right, connecting these up. On the back of these switches, you've got a single terminal at one end, which is marked common. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? Common at the top. And usually at the bottom it's got L1 or L2, but in this case it's got one way or two way. One way is the same as L1. And always remember that both of these wires, depending on which way the switch is, will be live. So it's very important that the blue wire also has a brown sleeve over it or piece of brown tape to denote that it's a switched live. I think I've covered this before, but now I'm doing it twice. Just before I knit that up, just get it square. That's the switch down the box room. Wow. Was a big hole in the wall. Not anymore. So I've just got to wire up this one. Got no actual light fitting at all in here, so what I'll probably do is I'm not sure exactly what light fitting I'm putting in here, but what I will do is I'll fill in most of that hole with some bonding plastering, get some strength back into it again at least, and then we can make fresh fixings, drill it if need be. Now, because I'm putting downlights in the floor beneath, I've got to get the floorboards up. Right? Well, that's half the battle. The other one is you've got about that much space that side and that much space that side, which is about 8 or 9 inches. But if we have a look downstairs, the same amount of space that side, but a whopping gap that side. So that means I've got to allow for the fact this room is wider than the room above. The wall for the room above runs like that. Got me? So what I've got to do is measure that basically. on it, and it's 68. That's quite a difference, isn't it? So I've got to allow for that. So that's at least a couple of foot from here, which is really where you want the spots, about 2 foot from the wall. So I've got to really, I want to be as close to that, well, not right up to the wall, but as close as I can get. I really want that board up. I don't think it's ever been up. Don't know. Yeah, it has. It has been up, but not all the way. So I might have to make a cut down here somewhere. The width of this room, up until this chimney breast that leads across, is 260. Okay, but we know that's the downstairs wall is across a bit further. So what we do, we know that that was 68 and it's 18 across there, so there's a difference of 50. So 260 plus 50, 310. So half the width of the room is going to be 155 from there. That will give me the centre of the room. Right, let's mark that. 150, 155, just drawn that arrow on the floor, that gives me a starting point. So I know that's the centre of the room. So that means we know what that board's going to be. That is going to be for the central light downstairs. Anyway, I'm hoping to retain that actually, or at least a cable there. So I'm going to have to measure equally from this point, which is there actually, lining up with that arrow over there. Yeah. So as long as we go equal space each side, we'll be all right. Yeah. Well, I've just fetched up some of these boards. I knew I'd got some central heating pipes left over from the old heating system, so might as well start cutting some of these out and get rid of as much of that as I can. Only waiting for copper. Maybe one for Steve then. And some of the old lighting cable. These would have gone to, there was a pair of wall lights downstairs which I've since removed, so they're going to get filled up so I can snip all this cable out, to be honest. But we'll cut through some of this pipe and get that out of our way to start with. Just getting your bearings. I think that board needs to come up, which makes it 90 centimetres from my centre point, and 90 centimetres this way will be this board. So basically that's 2 boards that I've got to take up. They haven't been up before, but you know, that's the way it is. So we are going to need the plunge saw. Slowly getting these boards up. But look, archaeological dig. You're thinking, what is it? Is it a junction box with little labels on? No, look. It's a packet of pliers. 10 Navy Cut pliers. Okay. Well, there you go. Don't know why they were hidden under the floor. Probably a plumber from years ago. Yeah, well, we moved along a little bit now. 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be at least 6 in that living room. Not suggesting that I'm going to have them on all the time, but at least I've got them. It's always difficult to kind of, well, unless you're going to space them between joists, but no, I don't propose that. And no, that isn't going to be that close to the door downstairs because you haven't got this, you see. And also, that wall is further back, remember. The one downstairs is. I don't know if we can get some not really. Yeah, there's a strip, centre of the frame there. It's like a threshold strip, and that is the door beneath, so that wall's quite a way back. But the spacing's always difficult, unless you're kind of doing spots between drawers. Well, you can do them any spacing you like then, but when you're going across here, you've got to dodge these things. Anyway, so I'll set a measurement, a hole measurement, about the furthest I thought I'd go, which is 240 centimetres. So half of 240, well, 120. Yeah. So got 0, 120, 240, and that's my spacing. So it'll be the same on that side. And then unusually, because actually these are kind of a standard size for a downlight, so if I wanted to change them at a later date I could do. But I've got a box of these, and this sort of brassy, coppery finish will be really good for the steampunk look that I'm sort of planning for downstairs. Have quite a bit of lighting in that front room. Certainly going to retain a centre light. Certainly going to retain more lights, and these. So no, you'll have a choice of lighting, and with suitable dimmers to go with it. But unfortunately, this is what you've got to do, and obviously I've got to run the cable. Cable will come in from my service hatch on the landing, into there, into there, into there, across, into one down there, one down there, one down there, and that's how they terminate. So yeah, so the next job is to knock all the nails out of this board, because they're obviously going to have to be screwed down at some point. And also remove some of these. No, that's not the moon. I'm looking up. Yeah, and there they are, all perfectly in line. Now, as it happens, and it's sheer coincidence, they actually fall on this line where the bay is. But that's not what I'm aiming for. What I need is an equal spacing from this wall and from the chimney breasting. That's actually what matters in terms of lining these up. It is tempting to line them up with the bay, but I think that would be somewhat foolish, especially when you consider that, okay, you've got a clear run this side if you lined up with that, but if you line up with that one, you're going to clash with the chimney breast. What you do, put a spot there. See what I mean? So you've got to come off that wall. Yeah, all these decisions you have to make. So I'm going to double check this, and I'm going to measure down here what that distance is, and I'm going to do the same distance from there to there, and then I know which boards to get up. So that measurement to the wall downstairs is 29 inches. So that's what I've got to come from there, because that's the same depth chimney breast as downstairs. So where will that bring us? 29. It's this board. Hard to believe, isn't it, really? When you think about it. You know, I've had to come so close that side with the boards, but the board I actually want is that one. And lucky enough, by the look of it, this has been up before, so that might make life a little bit easier. Yeah, there's some evidence that that's been up. Oh, somebody's levered in there at some point, and there. So that should make that nice and easy. Wires coming in off the service hatch, in, drop down, cut, drop down, and then I've got to run across there, but I've got to get a bit more of the boards up this end. I'm not going to nail the boards down until I've actually wired the spots in from underneath. Be a bit awkward downstairs because there's a lot of stuff in the way, but I'm sure I'll manage. Well, all the cables are in. Again, you know, like the bedroom, there's nothing you can actually line anything up with. All you can do is space them out equally on the ceiling. Because they won't match up with the fireplace, they won't match up with the bay window. There's no way you can do it all. Anyway, at least they're even across the room, so I've got an even spread of light. And they're kind of an optional extra anyway. I can see me using more the pendant light and wall lights, to be honest. But at least they're in, and I've got the choice, and if I want extra light, I can turn it on. So that's it from Ralph's house today. You know the score. Thumbs up. Look at that silhouette. Or thumbs down. Leave a comment. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.